the clock ticking is audible or not. But patience is a weird one. I had imagined myself sitting in this very spot in the corner of my room, at my desk, with the three lamps in each corner, except for this one. And I envisioned myself speaking about patience. I don't know if the ticking of the clock is audible. I don't know if the mic is picking it up or not. But it reminded me about patience. It made me think of patience. The one thing that I think half of us think we have a lot of, and the other half of us are kind of aware about the fact that we don't have any of it. And it's messed up because our generation is one where we get all our information from 15-second reels and YouTube shorts and TikToks. And we're quite proud of it. We seem quite proud about it. And also that this content we keep consuming, it's so messed up that in our generation, if we were to go ahead and watch a video of 3 minutes, before the video even hit the 50-second or a 1 minute mark, we would have already checked the comments twice, the comment section. And that's a fact. And it sucks because that's not how it should be. There was a time when we would skip through 20 ads just to watch like a 40-minute long video, an hour long, 2 hours long, and we wouldn't have any trouble. But we've run out of patience. The dopamine is so much, the kick is so much, the constant thrill and rush in doing the most insane things is so much that real life seems very weird to us. I remember this is something that I've told to many friends of mine when we speak about patience, is that when it comes to a few things, I am so impatient. I cannot wait for even a minute or two. But there's a few other things where somebody would have told me, hey, listen, I gotta tell you something. And I would have been like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And that person would be like, no, you know what? I'm not gonna tell you today. I'm gonna tell you sometime else. And so I asked my friend, so when are you gonna tell me? And my friend just says, a year from now, exactly a year from now, this time. I remember it was 6:30 p.m. of the year 2020. And it was sometime in October, November. And I said, okay, sure, fine. And then exactly a year later, I go to this person at 6:30 p.m. in the evening, and I say, you had told me that you were going to remind me of something, and how about it now? And this person tells me whatever they had to tell me. Now, it's the question is not whether it was worth it or not to wait that long. The question is not even was it that important. The real thing here to note is that the kind of levels that we have when it comes to patience for different things. There are some things that we absolutely cannot tolerate at all. That could be either because of our brains, or could also be because of our tolerance, maybe of our pride and our ego, and a million such things that we attach. Mental barriers that we make up for ourselves in our minds, which in reality do not exist and they do not have to exist. So I pictured myself sitting in this corner of my room with my mic without the pop filter, just on my laptop, plug it in and speak about it, because this podcast is minimalist. That is the point of this podcast. And I received, some of my friends walked up to me and told me how I could have been a little louder and how I could have said this or that. And I agree 100%, but this podcast is like a small documentation, a publishing, but like a small mini documentation, a personal documentation for personal thoughts and growth. Sure, it's up on YouTube, Rumble, and everywhere else, but that's okay. This one's for me mostly, and for people who are like me, or people who need to, or people who should, in my opinion, which may be misguided, listen to stuff like this. Because the thing is, when I say all these things, when I say that we are impatient as a people, I'm not just speaking about you guys or anybody who's listening to this. I'm speaking about myself as well. I know I have been a victim to this. I used to be a victim of this. And I sometimes, once in a while, also fall victim to this again. And this is a loop that keeps on going. We trust everybody else and everything else, but we do not trust ourselves. And every time we think that we're trusting ourselves is the time we're actually listening to media. especially social media. I don't know if this will make sense to many, I don't know. But to think, just to sit with yourself and your thoughts and think for a while could be the most important thing that we do. Again, just in my opinion, if we face an empty wall, take a chair and not a phone or a laptop with us. I mean, a pen and a pad, not a piece of paper, a pad. Books are cheap, notebooks are cheap. Just go get a notebook, get a pencil or a pen, sit in front of that wall for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. For the first 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you're going to feel very chaotic and unstable. You will feel scared by the amount of noise that is in your head. But whatever you have to think about, that is passive thoughts, will arise as active thoughts. You will have actively thought about things. Look at that wall, and whatever thought comes to your mind, just stick with it, sit with it, bear it, process it, think about it properly, with no hesitation and no mercy. This makes us self aware and also teaches us a lot about patience and the stories we tell ourselves. Because I remember the first time I did this, I didn't last the entire 45 minutes. I did around 39, 38 minutes. And I wrote down 3 to 4 pages. And every single sentence was just a question. A lot had happened that day, and so all of these pages were filled with just questions. It was as you see a page, like a whole paragraph filled up on a page, but it was all just questions. Every line had a question mark. I asked around 300 questions that day to myself in my little notebook. I didn't think I didn't think about the answers right away, but I acknowledged the questions. Gave me a little more patience, gave me a little more faith in myself, made me more aware and mindful of the things that I've been thinking about. It's a practice that I encourage with among my friends now. It is a practice that I shall continue for a while, forever, hopefully, God willing. And I also recommend it to anybody who's still listening. Well, if you made it this far, this is somehow, some way, or whatever else it's called. Maybe one day this thing becomes commercial and I make it very appealing and not very minimalist. But for now, it's a little safe space. My links, my socials, and my contacts are in the description. This is somehow, some way. Structure Grace, the show where we talk about trajectories of life and art, where we yet to speak about art. And I have been your host, Faris. Take care, and see you soon.